Hello everyone and welcome to this video. So we are back once again with the Intel Compaq. Right now it's running its usual install of Windows 2000 Professional. This particular install that we just saw in a previous video when we had it set up like this. Well, it wasn't set up like this. This is a new install that I had on here, from a previous video that I did when I reinstalled it. And since then I put a bunch of programs on it. And yeah, so what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be installing yet another OS to this thing, because at the moment we had Windows 98 Second Edition, Windows 2000 Professional, and as we did in the previous video, we installed Windows 2000 Server, which is a server edition of Windows 2000. So I guess what we're going to be doing in this video is we're going to be doing something that I've actually mentioned in the previous video, because I did mention I was going to install something after installing Windows 2000, but I opted for 2000 Server because of the way I'm resetting things up. And we're finally going to be doing it in this video. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be installing an OS that is fairly popular, if for those that you're running Windows, if you're like a Windows fan or some whatever, if you're someone that was around in the early to mid or even the late 2000s, you may have used this OS. And that OS is Windows XP, obviously. That's a very popular OS, obviously. Me coming from the early 2000s, I've used Windows XP for almost 7 or 8 years. I think since at the earliest 2004, from when I used my childhood Compaq, which is the Compaq Presario 7000 computer. Had an Intel 4 processor, obviously, one of the earliest ones. And yeah, it originally had Windows ME on it, but my parents upgraded it to Windows XP, probably Professional, obviously, or when it came out around that time, late 2001 or something. And yeah, so we're going to be installing Windows XP Professional, obviously. So this is a recorded copy, obviously. We did acquire a recorded copy of Windows XP Professional, obviously. That was from back in the days. And I think we probably used that particular install of XP Professional on it for a little more than a few years since we had our childhood Compaq. And to this day, Windows XP, it's still running on my childhood Compaq. It hasn't been run in many years, but I would assume it would still had that install of XP Professional on it. But anyways, without rambling, let us go ahead and insert this semi-transparent shiny disk into the disk drive. Now, this particular disk of XP has a service pack, no service packs. This is the RTM build of XP, which released to manufacturing on August 24th, 2001, and released to the general public on October 25th. Now, we'll restart. And we will head into the install process. Now, one thing's for sure, at the time of recording, tomorrow will be August 24th, which will mark, if I can calculate here, it will mark 23 years. 23 years since this version of XP, the RTM version of XP, released to manufacturing. XP did not see an official release until 2 months later. But tomorrow was the day. Tomorrow, at the time of recording, will mark 23 years since XP released to manufacturers. And just a little bit a side note there. August 24th tends to be somewhat of a somewhat a significant date for Windows releases, especially for Windows 95 and NT4. They all released on August 24th. Anyways, we're in the setup process. Now, this may look familiar to the Windows 2000 setup process, except with some differences. Notice that it does not have the 2000 in the name. It just says Windows. It just simply says Windows setup. And then when it gets to setup is starting something, Windows something something, that is also different too. And we got plenty of files on here. And there we go. Setup is starting Windows. It just simply says Windows right there, not Windows XP or something like that. But it will say Windows XP once it gets to the main part of the setup process, which it will do so in a moment. But yeah, talking about August 24th, that seems to be a significant date for Windows releases. Especially since Windows 95 released on August 24th, 1995, and Windows NT 4.0 released on August 24th, 1996. And Windows XP was RTM'd on August 24th, 2001, obviously. But yeah, here we are on the Windows XP Professional Setup. Welcome to Setup. This portion of the Setup program prepares Microsoft Windows registered trademarks XP to run on your computer. So yeah, so there's a significant difference between this and Windows 2000. Was the Windows, obviously the Windows 2000 name was replaced with Windows XP in all these instances. To set up Windows XP now, press Enter. To repair a Windows XP installation using Recovery Console, press R. To quit setup without installing Windows XP, press F3. We'll set up Windows XP now by pressing Enter. And then it'll examine our two drives and it'll go into this licensing agreement for Windows XP Professional. We'll read all this carefully. Alright, this is Windows XP Pro. No service packs, so this is just RTM. So get this, if you got a new computer, say around like what? When XP was released in late 2001, and when it was available around sometime 2002-ish or something. When you got a new computer around that time, and you got your copy of XP, either Home Edition or Professional, and then this is how you would go by installing it back in the day. So, wow. And it conveniently labels all these partitions, because if you remember in the Windows 2000 installation videos that I've done, you notice that it looked different than this one. XP had it laid out like this, but it's generally the same concept, obviously. So we can see all the list of partitions on here. We'll select this partition, which is why it's conveniently set up for XP. And here is another difference. This is the major difference, obviously, as far as formatting goes. We now have the option to quick format the file systems to either NTFS or FAT file systems. Now, obviously, in Windows 2000 and prior, you don't get those options. You can only do a quick formatting using the recovery console or whatnot. But here, it allows us to do it in the setup process, which is very, very helpful, especially for a spinning disk drive. So we'll format the partition using the NTFS file system quick, and I will start the stopwatch and see how quick that goes. So we'll format by pressing F, start the timer, and let's see how that goes on a quick format. And I don't even need to pause the video here because I'm not doing a full format. So as you can see here, it's 20%. And 100%. That only took like 20 seconds for this particular quick install, quick formatting. So that's fairly quick, especially on a spinning drive like this. Obviously on a VM, it would take like mere seconds. Not even close to like what, 20 seconds or something. It's like more like a millisecond or something. But anyway, it's already scanned all the files, and now it's creating the copying list. It's copying the files now. It has created a list of files to be copied, and now it's copying the files. Now this is another difference there. It's this message right here. Instead of it saying Windows 2000, it says just simply Windows again. So please wait while setup copies files to the Windows installation folders. This might take several minutes to complete. So yeah, so pretty much this text-based portion of setup is virtually identical to that of Windows 2000's text-based portion of setup, because they all use the same type of text-based interface partitions for the first part of the setup. When we get to the graphical interface of setup for Windows XP, that will look fairly different from Windows 2000 and prior. Even 9X systems too. So yeah, it's going to begin copying the files. Driver.cab, that's taking a little while. Especially since the disk is transparent. It's semi-transparent, enough. So I don't know if this a CD drive will accept that, but it seems like it will. But yeah. So yeah, and talking about XP, as far as my childhood Compaq goes, I used my childhood Compaq for at least up until 2008. So that was about from 2004 to 2008. That's like 4 years. So that seems like, yeah, kind of had to correct myself a little bit. Had used XP for maybe like at least 4 years of use before I switched over to a Vista era HP Pavilion desktop computer that ran with this Vista Home Premium, and a few other a laptop, the DB2620US laptop that I still have, that ran Windows Vista. And unlike what other people think about Vista, especially from around that time when it released, me personally, I never had any problems with it. Of course, there were some occasional hiccups, and maybe some blue screens here and there, but for the most part, Vista worked out fine for me. That's just me. Anyways, it's finishing copying files, and it's updating the startup environment. And there we go. This portion of the setup has completed successfully. If there's a floppy disk in drive A, remove it. We don't have one. To restart your computer, press enter. When your computer restarts, setup will continue. So we'll let the timer count down. 3, 2, 1. There we go. And now it's restarting. And now let us see the new NTLDR bootloader provided by XP. And we will see what I would call now famous Windows XP boot screen. So there's the new bootloader, and let's see that signature boot screen. There we go. The original OG Windows XP Professional boot screen. This remained up to Service Pack 1 of Windows XP, because Service Pack 2 of Windows XP and up removed the edition name from the boot screen, and it simplified the copyright notice at the bottom left there. They also changed the green bar of Windows XP Home Edition to blue, but we'll get into that like in another video when I mention something like that, once we get to Windows XP Home Edition's boot screen, once I reinstall it, once I reinstall that on a different video. So for now, we're going to be doing its its high-end upmost version of XP, released around that time, which is XP Professional. So, and Windows XP Professional, it's getting into the setup process. Now notice that we have much improved color depths, because as I was saying in the previous videos, Windows XP has its own VESA enabled graphics driver. So now that's why we got this very nice, colorful depths and whatnot. But anyways, an exciting new look. Windows XP sports a brand new visual design that combines a sleek look, clean lines, and appealing colors with a task-oriented design and exceptionally streamlined navigation. The redesigned start menu makes it easier to find important information and to access the programs you use frequently by cleaning up the notification area of the taskbar and grouping whatever that is, because it goes by so quick. Try the easiest Windows yet. Windows XP makes it easy to manage all your information, etc., etc., etc. Yep. So this is what the setup process, the graphical portion of setup looks like. I'm sure all of you who have used XP when you have installed it for the first time will probably be all familiar with this screen, you know. Especially if you install it on the VM, which I believe many of you had done countless times when you installed XP on the VM. Stay up to date. Windows Update provides you with critical software updates and hardware support files for XP. And Setup gives you the opportunity to ensure that you have the latest software to install Windows quickly and successfully. For corporate customers, there have been great improvements in the system preparation tool as well as unattended setups. So you can see we can see a major difference between the Windows 2000 and XP setup. You're no longer confined to a setup bitmap in the background and a big window of it setting up all the devices and setting your information and stuff. Although that big window will come up eventually once we get into setting up all of our user locales and whatnot. So you can see here, installing devices. That would normally appear up in that window that would say, please wait while Windows setups devices such as your keyboard and mouse. This may take several minutes. During this time, your screen may flicker for a few seconds. So something like that. And there are some similarities that were carried over from the Windows 9X series. So like these things right here and these little blurbs there, they're all carried over from the Windows 9X series. Because, Windows XP was the first version of Windows, made for the home users. Because prior to this, NT was tailored for the high-end business users, business and enterprise users. And but with XP, they aim to combine the home and business segments under one kernel, which is Windows NT. So yeah, pretty much. That was a pivotal point there in the Microsoft Windows history. I do have a disk of Windows XP Home Edition around here that I'll be using to install on this Intel Compaq, reinstalling it here in another video. But yeah, but here we go. We see this window pop up. So this functions exactly the same as how it was in 2000, and yeah. So regional language options, you can customize XP for different regions and languages. Regional and language options allow you to change the way numbers, dates, currencies, and the time are displayed. You can also add support for additional languages and change your location setting. The standards and format setting is set to English United States, and the location is set to English. It's set to United States. Text input languages allow you to enter text in many languages using a variety of input methods and devices. Your default text input language and method is US keyboard layout. So we will go ahead and click customize on that section. And there's this extra settings option. Now, obviously, this is new to Windows XP because if you remember, Windows 2000 does not have any additional things for these types. So we will install files for complex script and right to left languages, including Thai. And we will install files for East Asian languages, so like Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. And we don't need to change at least all these things. Oh, yeah, this one. We can still change this thing, obviously. So I'll change from 2029 to 2079, because like I said, when the 2020s are over, we need to change that to 2079 so I can accept the years 2030 up to 2079, obviously. So yeah, we'll set up that. Please wait while setup installs or uninstalls language files. This might take a few minutes. So yeah. Anyways, it'll take a while to install those language files, and it's done. So and we can leave this as is. As far as the language bars goes, I'll leave that's grayed out, but we'll click next, and I will type in my usual name and organization. And the product key. So now we can see here, please see your license agreement admin or system admin to obtain your 25-character volume license product key. So this is the volume license version of Windows XP Professional. Now on a normal Windows XP Professional install CD, it would look just like what Windows 2000 does, but a little bit different. But since this one is a volume license edition, you know, it's a bit different. So I will go ahead and pause here to type in my product key, and I'll be back with you guys in a sec. All right, just typed in my product key, and you know, interestingly enough, the recorded copy of Windows XP Professional that we had acquired from back in the day had the product key already written on the disk itself, obviously. But yeah, that's just how it kind of was for a lot of the unofficial recorded copies of XP Professional being produced, which wasn't legal back then and probably still isn't. But anyways, here we are. Computer name and admin password. You must provide a name and admin password for your computer. Setup has suggested a name for your computer. If your computer's on a network, your network admin can tell you what name to use. Setup creates a user account called administrator. You use this account when you need full access to the computer. So there's the one difference between this part in XP Home and Professional. For one thing's for sure, Home excludes this and only gets the computer name option. We'll get into that when we install Windows XP Home Edition in another video. But for now, we need to set this thing up. So we'll set the computer name as is. And we will go ahead. Oh, this is new. So normally when you're installing this on a VM or on a newer PC, other than this Intel Compaq, you won't get this screen. But since this Intel Compaq has a modem installed, we get this one on setup. Now it's kind of rare to see this nowadays. So modem dialing information. To dial calls correctly, Windows needs information about your current location. And I am going to skip through this, so I'll be back with you guys in a bit. Okay, I just finished up that section. I just had to type in the area code of where I am, and yeah, now we're here at the date and time settings. So once again, I got all the dates, the date and time correct because I synchronized the BIOS clock on this Intel Compaq to the one that's currently set on my main computer, my main laptop, and on my phone, so that would be more synchronized with each other. And as for time zone, I can just leave that as is because I do live near that area. Like I said, we'll click next. Installing network. And again, that used to be displayed in a window, but it's displaying it from within this setup process. This new GUI, obviously. And it even has this setup will complete in approximately 31 minutes. So yeah, we can see some elements from the Windows 9X setup process. So if you remember in my Windows 98 setup, reinstalling Windows 98, a second edition video, you can tell that there are some things that are similar to what we have here in this. So networking settings, yeah. Ooh, 1394 net adapters. So I think it might have detected our 1394 FireWire connectors on our computer that can also be used for network, but you know. And then the next part will be for our Ethernet card, which is the SMC Easy Card 10100 PCI, SMC 1211 TX. That's the Ethernet card that came with this Intel Compaq. And we got an additional option, QoS packet scheduler, whatnot. Click next. Do you want this computer to be a network member or a domain? You may need this you may need to obtain this information from the network admin. No, this computer is not a network or is on the network without a domain. Now notice that it doesn't give us the default name of domain. That's something that's changed here. But we can click on here and it gives us the default name of work group, and we can click next. Then it's building the file list, preparing information, copying files. Now notice, yeah, again, all of these things will normally display on the window, but it's all being placed down here. So, yep, that's another difference. Windows Movie Maker. So, Windows ME introduced the first version of Windows Movie Maker, and XP introduced Windows Movie Maker version 1.1. And that tends to be the version that came with this version of XP. And Windows Movie Maker 2, I think it was a separate install, I would assume. And I think versions of Movie Maker 2, like up to like what, 2.56 or something like that, came with later versions of XP. I'm not too sure. I don't remember. But as you can see, we're already on the installing the start menu items. Now you may notice that all the indicators are just being displayed right down here, even up here too. So that's one thing that's different. So we don't get that little thing that says installing start menu items, registering components, saving settings, and removing any temporary files used. You know, with that little arrow denoting that. If you've seen the previous videos of me installing Windows 2000. Windows XP is great for notebook computers. Windows XP makes wireless networking with your computer easy and secure, so you can work whenever you want, whenever you want. It's seamless and automatic. It introduced ClearType technology that dramatically improves the readability of LCD screens. And of course, XP Professional features great plug-and-play support. So, yeah, I have XP installed on my two HP laptops that I have from the late 2000s, and they all run fairly well, you know. All right, setup will complete in approximately 15 minutes. So, yeah, we have the little indicator down here. And once again, I'm going to be doing this. We'll hit Shift F10 to open up the command prompt as usual. This is something that was first introduced in Windows 2000, and I believe prior to that. But yeah, experienced users and users who know what they're doing will be able to use this command prompt efficiently. And I know for sure normal computer users, even novice users and beginners, will not likely hit Shift F10 to open up the command prompt, and will not touch the command prompt in the setup whatsoever. But this is pretty much useful if you want to install like a graphics driver or something like that, because here on Windows XP, we can actually do it on here. I tried installing the graphics driver and the sound drivers and other stuff on this portion of the setup, and it worked fairly well. It even it even grabs our graphics drivers that we had installed during setup, and it worked out of the box from that. But you can see here it's going to saving settings, and then it will go on to removing any temporary files used. So okay, I may not read all these blurbs obviously because they may go by so fast. Setup will complete in approximately 6 minutes. Enjoy using Windows XP. If you would like more details on the new features built into Windows XP, the Windows Start menu can point you to several options. Click Help and Support to find articles, overviews, and tutorials on specific features. Or click Help and type walkthroughs into the search box to find articles that you could help you explore. You can also take the tour from the Start menu to enjoy a visual review of the next generation of Windows for home and business computing. Thank you for purchasing Windows XP Professional. We hope that you enjoyed the many new features of this Windows version. And that's actually the last blurb on this on the setup process, and then it'll go back to that exciting new look, which is the first blurb that you will see upon starting the graphical portion of setup. By the way, the setup will complete in approximately 3 minutes, then it'll switch to 2 minutes, and then it'll switch to 1 minute, and it'll switch to less than a minute. So similar to what the 9X setup process is, especially for 98 and ME's setup processes. They're basically the same. And it should be going on to removing any temporary files used. And then it will automatically reboot itself. So instead of it just showing the completing the Windows whatever setup wizard or something, it just automatically reboots itself once it finishes removing any temporary files used. So I think now at the moment I should go ahead and take out the disk from the drive, but I'm just going to leave it inside the system. But anyways, this is Windows XP's a bootloader, obviously, with some minor changes. So you can see this little text down here was moved slightly up, and it removed the 2000 from the name. So it just says simply Windows. But as you can see, we got a selection for Windows XP Professional. And we will select that. And notice the up and down symbols has been replaced with the word up and down arrow or something like that. Anyways, we're going into Windows XP Professional. For the first time, we're going to be going into its now famous out-of-the-box experience with that, I would say, iconic out-of-the-box experience music, which, because of the nature of the music here on YouTube, I might have to actually leave it out because of the way Content ID works nowadays. I know Content ID is not like a strike on the channel, but people keep labeling it as a strike for some reason, so I might have to leave it out for a bit. But once we get into the near end, I'll just unplug. Because some of you might know what I'm doing. Well, some of you might not, but you will find out anyway. So I'm gonna be doing this. Just plugging my earphones into this speakers, because these JBL Platinum speakers have headphone jacks, so I can just plug these Apple EarPods into this thing, so I can just listen to the music myself. And you can listen to the Windows XP out-of-box experience music yourself, on YouTube or something like that. You can even hear it on your own XP system if you go into C Windows System 32 OOB images, because that's where it's located, under title.wma. To improve the appearance of visual elements, Windows will automatically adjust your screen resolution. So we'll click OK, and it'll increase our resolution to 800 by 600. Windows adjusted your screen resolution. If you can read this text, click OK to continue. So I'll click OK, and this is where I will begin to plug my headphones in. And I will listen to the OOB music myself. Sorry guys, but times are changing on YouTube, and they have changed since. So, yep, I can hear the Windows welcome music. That's what it's called on my earphones. And I can hear Q mark coming in. Welcome to Windows XP. I'm here to set up your computer, and I can explain things as you move along. Ding. Anytime you need help, just click me with the mouse or press the F1 key. Ding. I'll be right here if you need me. Ding. Yeah, I kind of had to voice those sound effects myself, because I had the sound plugged into my headphones now, because if there's one thing that many people might not known of during this setup process, the the sound drivers, they may not have sound drivers installed during this sequence, so they never get to hear the music nor the sound effects from Compaq, within this sequence. But since this Intel Compaq has a sound card that's compatible, that's like built in to Windows, we get to hear it. But anyways, let's go ahead and click next. An internet connection could not be chosen. Windows was unable to determine which network connection to use for internet access. Your computer may be connected to a network, but Windows cannot finish setting up the network at this time. You can select one of the available network connections later after you finish setting up Windows. Just click Control Panel on the Start menu, open Network and Internet Connections, then click Setup or change your home or small office network. Now, obviously, we're not connected to the internet, obviously, because I don't have a router in my room at the moment. So that's why we got this screen. Now, if you are connected to the internet, then you'll get like a different screen. Ready to register with Microsoft? No, not at this time. Do you want to set up internet access now? You finished setting up Windows and your computer is now ready to use. Do you want to set up your computer to connect to the internet now? No, not at this time. Again, this is another screen that you'll never encounter if you're connected to the internet. Click Next. Who will use this computer? Type the name of each person who would use this computer. Windows will create a separate user account for each person so you can personalize the way you want Windows to organize and display information, protect your files and computer settings, and customize the desktop. So we can type in our name, and we can type in up to 5 users. So like the second, third, fourth, and fifth users. These names will appear on the welcome screen in alphabetical order. When you start Windows, simply click on your name on the welcome screen to begin. If you want to set up passwords and limit permissions for each user, or even add more user accounts after you finish setting up Windows, just click Control Panel on the Start menu and then click User Accounts. So we'll just type in our name here, and I'll also set up the other ones too. So Kazi, do Compaq, Kazi, and then XP Win. And then what else? I don't know what other name I could think of, so I'll just leave the 5th user out. So I'll click Next. Thank you. Congratulations. You're ready to go. To learn more about the exciting new features of Windows XP, take the product tour. You can also find useful information in the Help and Support Center. These options are located in the Start menu. And I'll click Compaq. Ding, ding. What can I help you? Tell me about the step. Congratulations, you completed this process. Ding. To start using Windows now, just click the Finish button. To take a tour of the exciting new features in Windows XP, click Help and Support in the Start menu and then type Tour in the search box. Why, thank you, Compaq. And we'll be seeing you very soon. And we'll click on Finish, and I will go ahead and unplug so that you can hear a little bit of the oop music. I'll just do it quickly, and then I'll click Finish. That was only a small portion. I just hope I don't get content ID'd for that. Anyways, now we're at the welcome screen of Windows XP. Normally, if you set up only one user, then it'll take you straight into the desktop. But since we have set up at least 4 users, we are presented with this. But there's also one thing. Many users of XP may have not noticed. Some might do, but you hit Control Delete on the screen 2 times. Watch what happens. 1, 2. See, there we have it. We have the classic Windows logon box. Like how we had for Windows 2000 and prior. So once again, this is the default configuration. So as is with Windows 2000 and prior, we only got these 3 buttons. OK, cancel, and options. So the extra options are hidden, but we click this one. This is our available options that we have by default. So the only available option is the shutdown button. You notice that the log on using dial-up connection option is completely absent. And I don't think there's a way that you can get that option back on XP, but that's kind of moot nowadays because with dial-up being taken over by broadband and faster connections, and plus we don't have landline connections here on our house, that seems kind of moot nowadays. So yeah, again, we can hide all these options by clicking that button, but yeah, I'll just highlight all these options here for now, and we'll just go jumping straight into the admin account instead of logging into one of our accounts, even on my own account. So let's go ahead and do that right now, and let's listen to that iconic startup sound of XP. Blasting out of these speakers still, because it's still set on a bit higher volume level, but still. Welcome, that's what it says. Yeah, it kind of brings me back some memories of XP. And there we have it. The start menu automatically opens, you know, whenever you first start using Windows XP, or when you make a new account on XP and you log into it for the first time. But there we go. So this is the new style start menu, obviously. So we got internet, email, and all of our frequently used apps, and all of our other tasks list here. So we got my documents, my recent documents, my pictures, my music, my computer, control panel, printers and faxes, help and support, search and run. So these are the default. And this is the default desktop of Windows XP. Ooh, take a tour of Windows XP. To learn about the exciting new features in XP now, click here. To take the tour later, click all programs on the start menu and then click accessories. We will take a look at the Windows XP tour in another video, obviously, and we will be going through it sometime later. Windows Messenger is already open. Add a .ADT passport to your XP user account. Nope. And we'll go ahead and change this so that it does not run while Windows starts, and do not allow this to run in the background. There we go. Local area connection and network cable is unplugged. That's because we're not connected to the internet, but you know, it's 2024 and there's no reason to be connecting this up to the internet unless if you're having a challenge of using XP as your main daily driver OS, which some people have done challenges like that on YouTube or something, you know. I mentioned in my Windows Update Restored videos, but anyways, yeah, so this is Windows XP Professional successfully installed. And we go to WinVer. This is version 5.1, build 2600. So this is pretty much the RTM release of XP as released on August 24, 2001 when it released to manufacturing, and on October 25th, 2001 when it officially released to the general public. But anyways, here we are, XP Professional version 2002 is what it says right there. Intel Pentium III processor. So instead of it saying Family 6 Model 8 Stepping 6, as I believe what to call it, I think it's x86 Family 6 Model 8 Stepping 6. Yeah, instead of that and the AT compatible thing, it just says this, when Intel Pentium III processor. So XP does simplify things a bit. Quite helpful. Again, 933 megahertz, 640 megs of RAM. System restore, that seems kind of stretched a bit. Computer name, automatic updates. Yep, Windows XP introduced automatic updates. ME was kind of like the predecessor to that. I think from its automatic updating feature. But yeah, hardware, remote, advanced. So yeah, we have remote assistance on here, remote desktop. Yeah, just the basics. And we can go up to 1024 by 768. Because once again, XP has its own VESA enabled graphics drivers. So we got much higher resolutions and much higher color depths than the default VGA driver supplied by Windows 2000 and prior. You know, including all versions of 9X too. But yeah, that is pretty much all there is to say about of me reinstalling Windows XP successfully on this thing. I could go through a whole video just like going through XP and such, but you know, that may be for another time. But anyways, yeah. And before I end this video off, because like you know, there's something about me that wants me to make this installed XP look more like Windows 2000 or Windows 9X and such. And I'm going to be using that utility to transform this OS to, you know, that classic Windows look, obviously. So be on the lookout for that when we take a look at something that kind of had some use out of it. So yeah, stay tuned for that. The video will come whenever it comes. But yeah, so that is it, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, thank you all guys for watching this video, and I will hope to see you all in the next one. See ya.